Alrighty, so that being said, I am going to start a poll. So you'll see a poll come up. This just helps me kind of get to know you all and a little bit about your background. So you'll see first question, what grade level do you work with the most? And question 2 is, what are you primarily using OKCareerGuide for? All right, perfect. That is great. So some of you with middle school all the way to high school, most of you with high school, and then some of you are probably at a tech center because you work with adult students. So that is great. That gives me a lot of information. Now, for those of you who are doing most of this for ICAP purposes, do you all feel comfortable with ICAP? Is that something you want me to cover briefly? Yes, you would like me to cover that. Okay, so we can. So the first thing I do want to say is you're going to see Jennifer Peters on this call, and you'll see next to her name, it says OSDE. So she's with the State Department of Education, and she is our ICAP gal. Jennifer, can I turn it over to you for just a moment and have you cover some of the ICAP things that a new person would need to know?
Absolutely. So we have a ton of information on our website, okedge.com. And we also have put together sort of an online learning community where it's got each portion of ICAP kind of pieced out so that if you have questions about one section, you can go to learn more about that specifically and not have to sit through the whole class. I see that Catherine already put our website in there. I will share the link to our training course also. But essentially, ICAP has a handful of main components. And what we're seeing is schools tend to have the most success with their staff and their students, the more integrated they're able to make it just into their everyday practices. Sort of the bottom line of what that legislation requires is that students take at least one assessment every year of high school. And so if you have a kiddo who maybe is doing 10th grade twice, that means their ICAP will last an additional year because they are in high school an additional year. But students are taking an assessment all 4 years, and Catherine, I'm sure, is going to show you what that can look like in OKCareerGuide, so I won't dig into that too much. Students are also expected to set and update goals annually. A lot of our schools, because OKCareerGuide offers 3 different ways, 3 different types of goals. A lot of our schools are having them set 3 every year. The legal requirement is just 1. So as long as they are setting, and then next year, maybe they are updating that goal because they've got a little bit closer or they met that goal. So now they're adding a new one. But they are supposed to kind of create and update those goals at least once every year. The next big piece I think that we see the most often is an intentional sequence of courses. And you can do this a ton of ways. The state is working on some guidance for doing that through career pathways. So sort of set almost like a college degree, like set pathways through the courses you offer for students based on what that long-term goal is. If you are doing that intentional sequence of courses in OKCareerGuide, they call it an ed plan. And again, I'm sure Catherine will show you what that looks like, but it is essentially a student setting down and kind of charting out what high school looks like for them so that if they want to go into a health career, they know what their options are with you. If they want to go into computer science, they know what their options are. Students need to update that ed plan or that sequence of courses every year. There's a theme. Some schools are having them plan 1 year at a time. And while technically that probably meets the requirement of the law, I think you will find that it is more effective if you have students try to look at their whole high school career at once, which is why pathways are helpful, because then they don't have to dream up every class. You've done a little bit of that work for them. The reason that I think all 4 years at once is helpful is because we have students who want to take concurrent classes, or students who want to go to their local tech center for a program. And if they didn't pass or take the right courses up front, it may be hard to find the space in their schedule down the road. And if they can plan for that as early as possible, they are more likely to be able to get to do those things. Kind of part of ICAP. It wasn't through House Bill 2155. It was an additional bill that they merged together into one requirement, is that students are taking those college and career readiness assessments. So in Oklahoma, usually it's the ACT. As long as it's documented somewhere, it can be in your student information system, but as long as that is documented somewhere, you're good. But OKCareerGuide does give you a space to do that if you like to keep it all housed in one spot. And then at some point during the course of high school, students are expected to participate in a work-based learning or a service learning activity. And there are a lot of things that can qualify for that. We're seeing a lot of schools trying to implement mentorship programs, internship programs, job shadowing, some things kind of like that. And so that requirement can get a little bit overwhelming to talk through in a setting like this. But if you do have work-based learning questions, you're welcome to reach out to me. And before I forget, I want to, if it's okay, introduce our newest team member. Meredith Dennis just joined us. Yesterday was her first day, and she will be focusing on helping our schools build those meaningful work-based learning relationships. So you don't have to like give a whole spiel or anything, but Meredith, if you want to say hi or introduce yourself, go ahead. But I think that's all I have.
Okay, perfect. Can everybody hear me? I'm still adjusting to new equipment, but perfect. So my name is Meredith and I'm super excited. Like Jennifer said, yesterday was my first day, so I'm still learning all the ropes, but I actually come from workforce development. I worked with Work Ready Oklahoma for just over the last year. So I kind of have a established baseline with some employers and kind of know what's going on in the industry across Oklahoma. So I'm hoping we can kind of shape that experience I have and plug it back in and create some educational models for our K through 12 programs. So that's me. I'm here just listening in and learning about OKCareerGuide.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. I always put you on the spot, and I know you didn't expect that. So thank you for jumping in and answering those questions and clarifying what ICAP is. That's really appreciated. And Jennifer's going to be your go-to person for ICAP. So thank you, Jennifer. And then, of course, Meredith, I'm so happy you're here. And I think that's going to be a fantastic resource to have at the State Department level. So that is great. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to look at the student side of OKCareerGuide. So you are going to see my screen pop up, and this is going to show you the home page of OKCareerGuide. So probably most of you have seen it, but just in case you haven't, all you need to do is go to okcareerguide.com, okcareerguide.org. It's going to land you here at the specific site. So very simple. What you may notice if you've seen it before is we have changed the way the logins are. We've broken them down by elementary and then secondary, upper secondary, and then adult. So we do have adult version of OKCareerGuide as well. So for those of you who are working with adults, they would make an account as an adult learner. So for those of you working with 6 through 12, this is where they would log in. But what I want to do is I want to encourage you all to consider creating your own mock student account, fake student account. I have a fake student account, and it's really helped me really learn the system when I worked with students in this. And so what you would do is click create a new account, pretty easy. And then I would have you select whatever student population you work with the closest. So middle school, high school student, college student, adult technology center student, and so forth. A lot of my educators want to go straight down to the very bottom option where it says, I'm an administrator or educator, because that's what you are. But technically for a student account, I want you to act as if you're creating a student account with the student population you work with the most. So in this case, it would be middle, high school, or adult, whatever that looks like for you. So once you've selected the option, it's pretty easy. You just walk through each step. There's only 4. So just make whatever fake grade you'd like, and it'll automatically filter your graduation year. Now, this is where it can be a little bit important in terms of how you want to, where you want to tie your fake student account to. So you may not want to tie it to your high school, because then your data is going to be integrated into your students' data on the back end on the reporting side. Some folks want to be tied to their school, so that is something to think through. You can always change your school once you're in the system, but what I do want to say is, and I'm keeping an eye on the chat. Perfect, Jennifer put that Canvas class in the chat if you want to join that. I would encourage you to for ICAP. That being said though, if your school uses Clever, and you should know if you guys use Clever or not. If it doesn't sound familiar to you, then your school probably doesn't use Clever. But if your school does use Clever, then you won't be able to find your high school here. So for example, Stillwater Public Schools uses Clever. So when I type Stillwater, it's only going to show me their elementary schools. It's not going to show me Stillwater High School. And so if you guys use Clever, you will not be able to select your school from here. So what I would do is I would actually use our Career Tech fake school, right? So we have a fake Career Tech school. You can go into your fake student account and play around as much as you please. It's not going to affect any data for your school system. So that is ODCTE, and you're going to see tech training. So if you're with a tech center, you're going to see training high school. If you're with a high school or middle school, because each system does look a little bit different in terms of the way it's the offerings it provides for students, I should say. So ODCTE, if you don't remember, it's in my name on Zoom. You'll see OKCareerGuide ODCTE. And so that's how you can create a student account. And then you will just walk through the next steps. Very simple. So go ahead and do that if you don't already have a student account, which is totally fine. Let me go. I'm going to open up a new browser. Give me just a second. All right. So now, once I have my fake student account, I can go and log in. So I'm just going to click 6 through 12 login and log in as a student. Now, we'll come back to the login as an administrator in just a little bit, but I want you to see again, like we talked about, what your students see. So this is what it will look like once you have your mock student account. This is what your students will see. Again, it looks a little different for our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders versus our 9th through 12th versus our adults. But this is essentially the home page of your student account, okay? So a couple things I like to point out at the top is right up here, you can have them change their language. So if you work with a population that primarily speaks Spanish or feels more comfortable in Spanish, they can change that to Spanish, however they please. And then up here in this little corner where it says welcome your name, you can go to account settings. And this is where you will see, or the student will see, all of their personal information. So for example, if you have a student who has transferred in and they need to log in from their old account that they used at their previous high school, they can log in and they can go to their account settings and they can update their school information with this little pencil to their new school. And then that way their account is now tied to their new school. Now, we know that students a lot of times don't remember their login. And so that's okay. Reach out to me. I will put my email in the chat. If you run into issues where students can't get logged in, the reason I would prefer you to reach out to me is I don't want them to go in and create a brand new student account. We want to avoid duplicate student accounts, especially for ICAP purposes, because once a student has 1 or 2 or 3 accounts, well, more than one, I should say, it can get really messy in terms of the data you're trying to pull. So keep that in mind that if they can't log in, please reach out to me. We can get it reset. But that's essentially where they can go to update their school or update their grade. All right, any questions so far? Pretty simple. Okay, so just as Jennifer mentioned, in terms of ICAP, whenever students log in, they're going to see right in the center of the page the 3 different assessments that we offer. So we do only offer 3. I say only, I feel like 3 is a lot, and they all differ significantly from each other. So there's career interests. That's the one I would start with for all of your students. And that's especially important for your freshmen and sophomores, but it's honestly important for all grades. Then we've got the skills confidence. So that's what students typically feel like they're the best at, what they're strongest at. And then we've got work values. And work values is going to show them a representation of what is most important to them within a job, a workplace, a work setting. That could include finance, that could include income, that could include prestige, challenge, coworkers. My top assessments for work values have been, I'm just going to use myself as an example, has been supervision and coworkers. So those are my top 2 in terms of work values. This is going to be really especially valuable for your older students or your adult students, like your juniors, seniors, and adults. I think it's valuable for freshmen and sophomores too, just to kind of get an idea of where they are. But I really love this for your older students, juniors, seniors, and adults, because they're going to start looking at, do I want to go to a tech center? Do I want to go to a college? What do I think I want to do? Maybe I think I want to be a dental hygienist, but maybe my work values don't represent that. And now I'm going to have to switch gears because I shadowed and I don't like it as much as I thought because it doesn't align with what's important to me. And that could look different for each student, right? And that's a win. If a student goes and does something at a work-based learning experience or at a tech center and they say, never mind, I don't like that. That's not what I thought it would be. That is a win because they can reroute a little bit sooner and look for other career options. So for me, I know with work values, I lean heavily on this over anything because this is going to be what's really going to make me feel fulfilled at the end of the day. And so I really like work values. Work values is probably like I said, my most favorite in terms of working with your older students. So all the student needs to do is just click in. So let me show you what it looks like. And then they're going to answer on a Likert scale. So this is, again, their career interests. Very simple, perform for an audience. Do I want to do that? Yes or no? Learn about recent advances in science technology. Yes or no? And so forth, right? I will say in totality, all 3 together take 20 to 25 minutes max for your students to complete. So it's not even a full class period for them to do all 3. And then they're done with that requirement for the year. I do have some fun activities that you can do along with these work values games or work values assessments and the skills competence assessment and interest assessment. So if you're interested, I can share those activities with you that your teachers can do in the classroom with students after they've taken their assessment. And so that can make it feel like it sticks a little bit more with their students, make it feel more applicable to their lives. And then they kind of get to have fun with it. So rather than them just getting on, doing the assessment, and then whatever for the rest of the class period, the teachers could do a fun activity that goes along with the assessment. So I'd be happy to share that with you all. I will send you an email afterwards, and I can include that information with you with it. So outside of this, you're going to see on the left-hand column is the main menu. That's really where I refer students to the most. And then you've also got over here a My Next Steps checklist. That doesn't necessarily cover ICAP, it's more career development, holistic career development. And so keep that in mind that this is going to be more overall, like developing a resume, updating your grade level, inviting your parents, which we love to see them do. We want them to do that in their account, but it's not specific to ICAP if that's what you need. So we've covered assessments. Now let's talk a little bit about the next step, which is goals, like Jennifer mentioned. So students can go down to My Goals. The third from the bottom looks like a little target, like the red target symbol. And this is where students can write a career goal, an academic goal. We do also have personal goals, but I would highly encourage them to do career academic over personal. They absolutely can do personal. I went to a school last fall and she was having her students do a career and academic and a personal all together. And I think that's really nice because it doesn't take a ton of time. Now, something I have noticed with students is they may have a difficult time just logging in, going straight to My Goals and trying to think of something. So I do have a worksheet. Again, I'll share with you all. You guys probably have heard of SMART goals, but I do have a worksheet of SMART goals that students can do. And they can make an academic SMART goal, a career SMART goal, and a personal SMART goal. And if you don't know what SMART goals are, it's an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So it allows the student to break down one goal based on that acronym and how they're going to meet that goal. And so they could have a SMART goal for career, a SMART goal for academic, or a SMART goal for personal, and then log into the system and type that up. That may be a little bit more holistic and well-rounded for them to do and kind of connect the dots. I think just going in here sometimes confuses them because they're like, well, I don't know. I need to think it through. I need to process it. What am I good at? What do I like? And so that may be helpful in terms of referring them back into the system after they've done that worksheet. So it's as simple as clicking add goal. And then they can name it. They can name it senior academic goal. So for goal type, they can make it a current goal, a high school goal, or an after graduation goal. Doesn't really matter. This goal type is whatever they feel is most applicable. But the goal category is the one that's most important. So they'll want to make it either an academic, career, personal. But again, for ICAP purposes, academic, career are the two ideal ones. And then let's say academic. And then their senior academic goal is to visit OSU IT graphic design program and meet with admissions team, right? And then they can put their deadline of October 16th, and then they can save it. They do not have to mark it as complete. Again, I will show you the administrative side and what that kind of looks like. It'll just show in progress, and that's totally okay if it's in progress. It does not necessarily have to be complete because as you saw for the goal type may be after graduation goal. So they may not complete it by the time they're in high school, but they still made that goal, which does complete their ICAP requirement for that year. So any questions about goals? That's pretty simple, pretty easy. Alrighty, I'm gonna go back to the home page. And let's jump into the next component of ICAP, which is education plans. I'm not just going to focus solely on ICAP, but I'm going over those at the beginning, and then we'll dig a little bit further into the system in just a little bit. but Ed Plans is right under my goals right here. And just like Jennifer had mentioned, this is where students will go to create those intentional sequence of courses. I think that I want to be an electrician, so I really want to apply to Central Technology Center and get into their electrician program, or I really want to apply to Meridian Technology Center and get into their graphic design program, whatever that may look like. But it's ideal because that'll probably be their junior and or senior year before they can get into that program. So it's ideal that they start planning that out as a freshman. So if you can have freshmen tentatively plan for the next 4 years, and then they will go in and update it each year to reflect what's accurate for them at that current year. So as a freshman, they may say, I'm going to go take this concurrent class at OSU, OU, UCO, NSU, whatever. And by the time they're a junior, maybe they decided that they don't want to take that right now. They want to hold off. And so they may want to update it by that junior year. So it's as simple as clicking add a new plan. They will name it. So they can name it Chickasha HS plan. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's really for them. It will automatically default to the school that their account is tied to. So as you can see, Training High School. It's got my current grade as 11th grade. And this is my chosen area of study, which is not really correct, but I'll go over this in just a little bit, but there is a way to build out education plans for your students on the administrative side. So I'm just going to act as if I'm creating a plan, and it will pop up and show me all the way back from 7th grade. So technically your middle schoolers could start doing education plans too. Really the only thing your 7th or 8th graders and even 6th graders wouldn't do is work-based learning. They would do that in high school, but they really could do assessments, goals, and education plans as soon as 6th/7th grade. So keep that in mind. But it's going to pop up and show me 11th grade. So let's act as if I transferred in as a junior to this high school. I was out-of-state student and I haven't done anything for ICAP so far. So I've got to start fresh of my junior year. So what I can do is just click into this little plus button right here. And I'll select English 3 for my junior year. And then maybe for math, I'm taking, I don't know, Algebra 2, right? And I can add that course here. And then maybe I'm taking a world language. And then maybe I am going to take a career tech class. So maybe I'm going to do 3D animation because I'm interested in graphic design. And so that starts to build out their education plan for their junior year. You could also build them out for senior year too. And you'll even see post-secondary year 1 and 2 down here. You don't have to do that for ICAP. That was just additional things that we built out at career tech level. But keep that in mind that they could go ahead and build out for junior and senior years. And so it could be as simple as that. They can save that and you'll see it was saved. And then if I go back down to Ed Plans, you'll see here it is right here. And it's got my 11th grade plan and it's been started. And if I want, I can go in and edit it and add my junior year to it, or the student can copy it and do 12th grade copy plan. And it will then allow them to have a copy of 11th grade or the original, I should say, of 11th grade, and then the copy of 12th grade. They can click into that copy and edit it, and it's going to show their 11th grade classes, and then they can go and say, okay, 12th grade, I'm going to do freshman comp 1. I'm also going to do freshman comp 2 concurrently. Great. So those are my 2 English courses that will fulfill my English 4 requirement at the high school for my senior year. I can, let's just say they are going to do calculus. I don't know. I'm just going to click computer science then. That's good. That was just a random one. But as you can see, that's where they can then go in and have a copy from 11th grade. And then they can edit it and update it for 12th grade too. So if I save that and I go back to ed plans right down here, I now have the original that I just made and I have a copy of it. So this one shows my 11th, this one shows my 11th and 12th. That's something that you are welcome to do. You could have them copy it as a freshman, copy it for sophomore, as a sophomore, copy it for junior, and so forth. And then that way they always have the original, but it just follows them and they have 4 by the time they're done. That's the way I would do it if I were out of school, is I wouldn't have them just edit the same plan over and over. I would have them make a plan for freshmen and all the way through senior year, and then go in, copy it, and update it their sophomore year. And then their junior year, go in, copy from the previous year, update their junior year, and so forth. So does that make sense? That's how I would do it. Go in and play around with it. See what makes most sense to you in your brain. I know for me, I can sit in on a training on anything, but until I go do it myself, it doesn't start to click until I start to play around in it. So that's why making a fake student account is so helpful, because you can go and do whatever you need in the system, learn it, and figure out what you want to do at your school. All right. Perfect. Okay. So we have talked through assessments. So students can click here or click take an assessment here. Takes about 20-25 minutes to do all 3 combined. They can go down here, 3rd from the bottom, to do goals, and they will do ed plans. So those are the 3 things they need to do annually for ICAP. And then the other component, of course, is work-based learning. So let's kind of jump into what that looks like for your students. So I mentioned over here in this left-hand column, that's where most of the work will be done for your students. If they click ICAP Oklahoma, right here in the center of that left-hand menu, it's going to show what I call the Oklahoma green cards, the ICAP Oklahoma green cards. And this is where a student can go in and keep up with their ICAP progress. So what I will say is the system will manually check things that it knows the student has done. So for example, the system knows that I did my interest assessment on January 19th. It knows I did it on the skills confidence on January 20th, and so forth. So it manually knows that, so it manually checks those off for me, or automatically checks those off, I should say. Then the student can go in and select completed ACT here for their junior or senior year. I know that FAFSA is going to be a high school requirement. They either opt in or opt out in the future. So they can select FAFSA as complete, whatever date they did it, and submit that. Same with CPR, personal financial lit, any of that. You'll also see the work-based learning component down here. So be sure to have your students go in after they've completed their work-based learning experience and have them select whatever most applies to what they did. So like Jennifer mentioned, we've got mentorships, we've got job shadows, we've got internships, apprenticeships. If they're in a career tech program, then that technically counts as their work-based learning because they're doing hands-on things at a technology center. So that is something that they can go do, is check off that work-based learning experience right here. Again, that's under ICAP Oklahoma. And then from there, I would send my student over to my documents in that left-hand menu. And I would have them upload a work sample document that proves, that shows the evidence that they did their work-based learning experience, whatever that may be. So we have reflection forms for guest speakers. We have reflection forms for career fairs, things like that. I will share those with you in an email, and student can fill that out, scan it, and they can upload it. They could just scan it on their notes app on their phone. And if they have an iPhone, I don't know about Android, but for an iPhone, they can just scan, they can fill out the reflection form, take a picture of it and scan it into their notes app, log into OKCareerGuide on their phone and upload it here. And then that shows their work-based learning experience. So that kind of completes all 4 components of ICAP. Now I do want to dig a little bit further into some other things, but before I switch gears, does anybody have any questions? And it's okay if you don't. Alrighty, well, so moving forward, a couple things I want to show you that go along with students as they complete their ICAP progress is students can actually go and explore occupations. They can explore majors. They can plan for education here, and that includes financial aid, Finance 101, searching for scholarships and grants. They can plan for work, so they can look at sample job applications. They can prep for the interview process, little notes about using social media. They can also search for jobs through our Connect to Business portal, which is right down here, and so forth. So I really love those features. Please play around in those and dig a little. I'm going to show you Explore Occupations. And I'm actually going to go to the first option under that drop down. It's occupations suggested by assessment results. So when I click that, it's going to load and show me a list of occupations that cover all 3 of my assessment results. So you'll see I've got green checks for education administrator for interest and skills, but it doesn't necessarily align with my values. That's okay, it aligns with the other 2. Healthcare social work aligns with my interest and my values. Would I feel as confident in that job? I don't know, it'd be something to look into. You'll see that I've starred some of my favorites. And so what I'm gonna do is actually click into, let's click into this one. Guidance, career counselor, advisor. And that's going to load and show me a page all about this occupation. And I love it because this lets the student really go deep and dig into different options, right? So it gives them a quick overview, some quick facts. I love this part because I know students, I had conversations with students that said, hey, this career may require more than just a 2-year or a 4-year, or it may require a master's degree. Let's talk through that. What's that going to look like for you? Is that something you want to do? They can click through and look at tasks and conditions for counseling, which, as we know, counselors do a million different things. So it's really long. We're not surprised by that. But I think that gives them an idea as they read through that. Is that something I think I would like to do? As I read it, I get really excited thinking about this being my job, right? They can go up to interest, skills, and work values, and it'll break down how it relates to their interest assessment, skills assessment, and work values assessment. They can go to education and experience and get an idea of what kind of licensing do I need for this job? What are the skills that I need for this job? And so forth. They can go to salary and outlook and get an idea of what the typical salary will be. They can compare it to any state in the United States. So if they don't think they want to stay in Oklahoma, they could look at different states. We also have related occupations. So something I think is important when I talk to students is reminding them they could pick this as the potential career that they want to follow, but there's so many that are similar that could also be a good fit. So don't feel like just because you pick something specific means that you're tied into that, that you've pigeonholed yourself into that. You haven't. there are other options too. So you'll notice these little symbols next to the occupations. And so the little human, if it is the shape of a male, then that means that there are not a lot of men in that occupation. So if I were just a betting person, I would say that if we pulled up welding, there would be a little woman next to the welding, because we don't have a lot of women that go into that field traditionally. That does not mean a woman cannot be a welder. That does not mean a man cannot be a special education teacher, right? Absolutely they can. It's just a little symbol. And if anything, it's saying you're still capable of doing this no matter what your gender is. The little sunshine reflects that it's a bright outlook, meaning there's going to be lots of opportunities for that job available. And then the little green leaf just means that, here I'll go to the key. The little green leaf just means that it's a green, economically friendly job. So that is what those little symbols mean. Okay, any questions about any of that? Alrighty, so just keep in mind that students can go in and dig around in that. I am going to show you some resources, like I mentioned, that students can use that walk along through this system with them. So keep that in mind. We'll come back to that in just a moment. Something else I want to show you is under Plan for Education. I particularly like the Finance 101 piece. So this could be really good for our those of you that are working with adults who need a little bit of help on the financial end. This would be really great for those. This would really be great for personal financial literacy, any of that. And so you'll see there's different chapters, chapter 1 through 9, starts with banking basics all the way down to loan types. I really liked chapter 3 because it talks about why money matters. And then it helps them have an understanding of how to budget just within a week's time, how to budget for groceries, gas, any required bills, vet or doctor's appointments for your child or for you, car maintenance things, those kinds of things that could come up within a week. Maybe not, but could. And so I really like that component too of OKCareerGuide. So keep that in mind that it's not just career. It's also got different financial aid pieces and Finance 101 pieces. And then lastly, I want to show you that we do have a resume builder under my job search tool. So we have a resume, cover letter, and references tools under that. So a lot of our English classes have their students do resumes. A lot of our FACS teachers, our BMIT teachers have students do resumes. Have them use OKCareerGuide if they don't know about it. It's a great resource, and it really walks the student through in detail how to do a resume. It's very simple, very user-friendly for our students who are just starting out, adult students who maybe need a new resume and don't know where to start. It really helps them add different sections. It doesn't necessarily help them with the grammatical piece, so that's something that you would want your teachers to know. But just keep in mind, we do have a job search tools feature right down here. So that is the really overview, high level of the student side. So we walked through assessments, we walked through goals, we walked briefly through education plans, we talked through ICAP Oklahoma green cards, and we also talked through uploading the work-based learning experience to My Documents. So if you have any questions about any of this, please let me know. Like I've said, I've recorded this, so if you want to share this with your teachers, whenever I email this out to you, you absolutely can. So now I want to switch gears because I still have 14 minutes left with you, and there's some things I want to show you. So the first thing I want to show you is our CTU page. So right here, ctu.org. Yes, Elizabeth. So Elizabeth asked in the chat, will there be a training on the admin side? Yes, there will be. We're going to go over that just for a brief minute in just a few. we're not going to spend a ton of time on it, but I want you to see it. So yes, absolutely. I will also show you a place that you can register for the training that I will have tomorrow afternoon. And it's going to cover the admin side in full detail. So yes, Elizabeth, to answer your question, we will come back to that in just a moment. So ctu.org is going to be all things resources, completely free curriculum for you guys to use. So if you scroll down the page, way down, you're going to see counseling and career development. This is where you will click and you'll see OKCareerGuide curriculum, adult OKCareerGuide curriculum. So there's two options. So if I click OKCareerGuide curriculum, you're going to see there's middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and then there's high school. So let me show you really quickly 9th grade ICAP curriculum. If I click in that and I click 9th grade assignments, it'll download. I'm going to open it. And you will see it's a long worksheet. I say long, it's 6 pages. But this is after the student has taken their assessments. They will go to explore occupations and they will start to answer questions like, what are my top 5 career pathways based on my assessment results, right? What are my national cluster rankings? What are my skills confidence results, and so forth. So goal setting will be right down here, but I'm also going to share another goal setting worksheet with you all. And so forth. So adding a new plan for ed plans is right down here. So this really walks the student through in a worksheet form what I've walked you through so far. But there's also lots of other curriculums. I'd love for you to go take a look at that. I will send you the information on how to get to this resource, just in case you're like, wait, I don't remember what she said. I will send this to you, but you'll also see we even have work-based learning toolkits. And I love those. They're really, really fantastic. Lots of things that you could use within the classroom. So keep that in mind that we do have lots and lots of great curriculum. Again, I'm going to send you an email, and that email is going to have a lot of stuff in it, but I want you to have all of that. And this will include some of the resources we've talked about here. So, all righty. So another thing I want to point out is we do have a YouTube channel. It's OKCareerGuide. And this is where I will upload this recording today. And it's also where I yesterday uploaded the admin training that I did yesterday morning. So that is uploaded right here. And that walks you through the new admin system completely from start to finish. I will also be doing this exact training live tomorrow afternoon. And I will send you the link just in case you're interested in registering for it. But I will show you right here where it's at. So it's on our Career Tech website. And I know I'm clicking around a lot, but I want to make sure I answer everything. So right here, new Navigator Hub admin features, September 7th, 1 to 2 p.m. So you're more than welcome to join us if you click the registration and sign up. Say you know that you have something that interferes with that time, go ahead and register anyway, because I will send you an email of the recording no matter what. So keep that in mind. But we do have yesterday's recording already uploaded to YouTube. So Elizabeth, I saw you were asking, hey, is there going to be a training on the admin side? You could go watch that. It is about an hour long. So, but you can watch it as you please, whatever works in your schedule. And Elizabeth, to answer your other question, what type of access should we give teachers? Well, let's go jump into the admin system really quickly. So now we're going to shift gears. We've talked already through the student side of OKCareerGuide. Let's shift gears and talk about the administrative side, which is what you all would need to run reports for your students and what they have done in the system. So if you go back to OKCareerGuide.com.org, either one, and you click into 6 through 12 login, and log in as an administrator. This is going to load. And sometimes it gives me a little bit of trouble when I try to log in, so let's see how it does today. There we go. Alrighty. So this is our new administrative website, just to kind of fill in some gaps. For those of you who maybe are not aware, we do have an old administrative site that was used in the past, but this is our new administrative site for our 6th through 12th grade students. So this will be what you will go to pull any reports for those 6th through 12th grade students. And so once we're in here, Elizabeth, let me just answer your question really quickly. So Elizabeth, you'll want to make sure that you have district level access. So if you click on this little human up in the top right, little person, it'll tell you what level of access you have. District administrator is what you need. If you don't have that, please let me know. And then Elizabeth, what I would do is in this left-hand menu, I would go to organization management at the very bottom, click district management, and then over here in the top right, you will go to invite user. And then I keep having to move my little camera around. I'm sorry about that. But once you click invite user, this will pop up. Let me just act like I'm going to invite Jennifer. And what I would do if Jennifer was a teacher is I would assign her the role of educator. So Elizabeth, educator is what I would assign your teachers. They won't have access to all of the things in regards to what you would see. It'll be a lot less, but they don't need a ton of stuff like you do. So you can also assign them to either middle school or high school or both, whatever you would like to do. And then you click invite user. And once you've clicked that, they will get an email and it'll ask them to create a login, and then they'll have a login account, and that's how they will get into this system. So something that would be useful for your teachers is if I go up here to organize students in groups and I go to create a group, I can make a group and say the teacher that you just invited is your sophomore. He teaches history and Oklahoma history, and he's going to be doing ICAP for freshmen. Then you could go in and create a group for those specific students in that class, and then assign him to that group. He could log into his admin account. I keep saying him because my Oklahoma history teacher was a coach, a male coach. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to make that assumption, but you could assign that teacher to that specific group. And then when they log into their account, they could just see that group, and all they'd have to do is monitor progress for those 25, 30 students, rather than having to filter and try to find their specific students out of 500 students, right? So if you have questions, I cover that in that administrative report and can show you how to do that. But I do want to cover also, you are welcome. I do want to cover also the assessments. So we've talked through assessments. Now down here at the bottom of the homepage of the administrative account, you're going to see assessment status, goal summary, education plans, ICAP Oklahoma report, which is those green cards. So you're going to see all of that right here. And those are where you will go to pull those reports for your students, okay, for your 6th through 12th grade students. Now, again, if you want to learn this administrative side, please sign up for the training I have tomorrow, or you can go watch the one that's already posted on YouTube in your own time. But I do hope that helps you connect the student side to the administrative side, at least at some degree. I know we went high overview, but this at least gets you started. Please create a fake student account if you haven't already. and go in and play around with it. Like I said, I will email a bunch of stuff to you that will include the recording of today, just in case you need to reference it again. It will include a link to the CTU page with all the resources, and I'll also include some of those activities and SMART goal worksheets and those things that you could do with your students. So keep that in mind. It'll be kind of a little bit of a long email, but it will be worth it because it's going to have some resources in it. And I'll try to keep it as concise as possible, because I know you've got a million other things you've got to do besides just OKCareerGuide. So does anybody else have any final questions? We've got about 3 minutes left. And you can come off mute if you'd like, or you can put it in the chat. Okay. If not, I will be in contact, so you will get an email from me probably in the next few hours. You will get it today sometime. And that way, if you need to get in touch with me, just email me and I'd be happy to help you. Jennifer also is available, and Meredith, even though it's her second day, she will be available for work-based learning questions. So I'll be sure to include their information too, just in case you need to reach out. So Meredith, is that okay? Do you want me to include your information? Okay, perfect. I wanted to make sure you were comfortable with that. Okay, all, well, have a great day, and I will reach out soon. See you guys.